We are on a journey with Jesus. We join him on his campaign trail to the Capitol. He is resolutely moving towards death and resurrection, whereas most leaders on a campaign trail would expect to be elected as president at the end. And it's kind of weird. As he gets closer and closer to the Capitol, he's not really talking about the issues. There's all kinds of people coming to him and saying, well, what about taxes? What should we do? And he's kind of like, well, just give to Caesar what's Caesar's, give to God what's God's. Or what about this adultery problem in our culture? What should we do? Whoever's without sin, cast the first stone. He's not dealing with the issues. The Roman occupation of their country, welfare. You know, you follow me because you want bread for your bellies. I am the bread of life. And as he gets closer and closer to the Capitol, he starts talking more and more about himself. Let's talk more about me. Not the issues. Let's talk more about me. And we're in this series going through all of his I am statements. And it's hard because the more he talks about himself, it seems the less and less people like him. The more they're confused. Is this the leader who is really going to care for us? Because he's talking more and more about himself. Is this the leader who's going to have the power to change our lives? Because he doesn't seem very interested in our issues. Or is he like the biggest egomaniac we've ever seen? And we've seen a lot of egomaniacs. We'll be looking in John chapter 10, the I am the good shepherd statement. But before I do that, I wanted to ask you some questions to kind of get you thinking about leadership. And I really want to hear from a couple people, what kind of qualities are you looking for in leadership? What are some of the qualities you look for in leadership? Anybody?
A leader. Honesty.
Honesty? What do you mean by a leader? What is a leader?
They lead.
Strength, focus,
They inspire people.
inspiration,
Integrity.
Yeah.
Clear vision or plan.
Yeah. Yep. I've been thinking about this week, and I have to admit I'm a fairly conservative person. I'm not traditional, which I hope you see each and every time I preach. I am ruthlessly opposed to thinking inside the box and doing things per usual. I'm not traditional, but I am very conservative. I like to take risks and think outside the box, but I need leadership that provides a safe place and stability for me to do that. And stewardship is important to me. You know, our growth needs to happen because we create reserves and we make plans and strong vision and inspiration that provides unity and focus. And in this passage that we are about to look at, Jesus offers us none of those things. And it's pretty unsettling, and that's why I'm warning you. It's unsettling because I find that Jesus refuses to reinforce my own cultural and political expectations. And I find that really refreshing because I am very scared of religion that reinforces what I want to think. So I would challenge you to really listen to Jesus this morning because he is not conservative. He is an all or nothing risk taker. In this passage, he is not a steward. He's a prodigal giver. Endless generosity. Give, 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 give. That makes me really uncomfortable. His strength of purpose, his inspiration is self-sacrifice. Now, I get uncomfortable when leaders start firing all of their key leaders. That is not stability to me. But Jesus takes a different approach. He doesn't even fire his worst cabinet member. Instead, he seems to be intent upon getting himself fired. Self-sacrifice. Now that to me is equally destabilizing. But it's also really challenging because before he is my king, who wins my heart and brings me into his kingdom, he is a brilliant agitator. He riles up my comfortable heart. He challenges my mind. Because as he gets closer and closer to the cross, he is both running for office. He wants to be our leader. But he's also protesting the way that we think about leadership and our attitudes towards leadership. Let's look at John chapter 10. We'll read 11 through 21 together. John 10, 11 through 21. 11 through 21. I am the good shepherd. Circle good shepherd. The good shepherd, circle good shepherd, lays down his life, underline lays down his life, for the sheep. He who is a hired hand, put a square around hired hand, and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, he sees the wolf coming, and he leaves the sheep, and he flees. The wolf snatches them and scatters them. He, the hired hand, put a square around he because the word is hired hand. He, because he is a hired hand, put a square around hired hand. And he cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, circle good shepherd. I know my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life. Underline, I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life. Underline, I lay down my life, that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down. Underline, I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down. Underline, lay it down. And I have authority to take it up again. This charge I have received from my Father. And there was again a division among the Jews because of his words. Many of them said, he has a demon, or he's insane. Why listen to him? Others said, these are not the words of one who's oppressed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? Confusion. Who is this guy? In this passage and the passage immediately preceding it, which Pastor Chuck did a couple of weeks ago, the I am the door passage, Jesus has two metaphors, and they're right next to each other, so don't get them confused. Chuck did a great job of covering I am the door, and in that metaphor, Jesus is comparing a door to a thief. And he's saying, a thief's intent is to steal, kill, and destroy. But I am the door, and my intent is to provide security, but security with freedom to go in and out, and to provide that stability for abundant life to happen. That's the first metaphor. And immediately following it, in our passage, I am the good shepherd, he's comparing a good shepherd to a hired hand. Now, I have a couple pictures. You may not believe me, but I have some limited experience with ancient shepherding. Why, yes, I do. It is limited. Our family lived in Mongolia for 10 years. I might even have a photo or two. We met lots and lots of shepherds. And I want to highlight the difference between a countryside shepherd and a city shepherd. Now, this was our Kazakh grandma, and her son had a very large flock. Now, a countryside shepherd, generally an extended family, has personal ownership over a very large flock, sometimes several hundred sheep and goats. And they have various tools to do their job. You notice this countryside shepherd, he has a horse to go great distances and to go fast and to keep everybody together. Usually the family will also have a Soviet-style rifle, and they'll often have a wolf pelt somewhere around the house to show off that they protect their flocks. And every Mongolian will tell you that a good shepherd will move at least 4 times a year because they are completely dependent for life upon their flocks. So they have to get their flocks good pastures. And to do that in a harsh environment like Mongolia, you have to move a lot. So a good shepherd will move at least 4 times a year. They fold up their house, they put it on carts or on a truck, and they actually move their whole home to another location so that their flocks can have more pasture. Sometimes they'll move up to 10 times a year. Now contrast that with a city shepherd. In a city, you will often have a shepherd who has moved in from the countryside because they couldn't survive out in the harsh environment anymore. And he will probably only have a few of his flock left. He will be, for the most part, uneducated, very difficult to find a job in the city. And so, because he has to take care of his own animals anyway, he may go up and down the block and find all the other families who have 1 or 2 or 3 sheep or goats or a cow and offer, say, hey, for $2 or $3 a month, your animals can come with my animals and I'll keep an eye on them. And this is how he survives. He picks up a few bucks a month from many different families taking care of their animals 2 or 3 at a time, and he puts them all together and he takes them all out. He doesn't have a horse. That was gone a long time ago before the hardships happened. He doesn't have a rifle. He doesn't have any new pastures. He can only provide pastures within a day's journey of city because he has to bring back all those animals every night, and they return to their fences, their homes. And the mentality of a city shepherd is for a few bucks a month, this is a low-risk job, right? I'm not going to risk very much for this job for a few bucks a month. Certainly not going to risk myself. And if I have 100 sheep, I'm certainly not going to risk anything for one of them. And it would be absolutely absurd for me to risk myself. Right? I'm barely keeping my family afloat as it is. It makes absolutely no sense to anyone in an ancient shepherding culture for a shepherd to risk his own life for the flock. What would happen the next day? All right, I guess the wolf can eat me today. Well, the wolf's coming back tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the flock is now shepherdless? That makes no sense. You don't risk yourself. That would be either demonic or absolutely insane. What are you talking about? It's like kind of, without a doubt, this is the worst shepherd I have ever seen. What are you doing? They're sheep. They're disposable. It's like if you run into a mugger, a sheep is like the dollar bill that you throw and run the other way. Yes, you can have one of them, because then I can still keep 99% of my investment safe. You take the 1%. Enjoy it. Sheep are disposable. In comparison, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep know me. Now, a hireling, like most leaders that you and I are familiar with in this world, they do a pretty good job when there are absolutely no risks involved. Most of them do a pretty good job. But when it comes to any kind of personal danger or liability, poof, where'd they go? I mean, you take the worst possible dictator that this world has ever produced, and as soon as that position is no longer advantageous to him, he's gone. See you later, sheep. I'm strong. You're not. I'm taking care of myself. And in this passage, Jesus is making a comparison where he says, not only will I not abandon my sheep, I will not abandon my sheep, not a single one. Not only that, but he takes it a step further. I will give my life for every single one of my sheep. He's going to the extreme of making the shepherd disposable. I am disposable for my sheep. And they couldn't understand what in the world he was talking. Is this guy insane? A shepherd is not disposable. What is he taught? We've never seen a leader like that. What is he talking about? He must be possessed. He's crazy. Jesus goes on to reinforce what he's saying 3 times. We underline the lay down my lives. It's not, the lay down word is not a he rolls over and dies for his sheep. That's not the word he's using here. I don't really like lay it down. It's more like he presents. The verb that's often used is like when you pour a glass of wine for your guest. You present it. Or when you lay a body in the tomb. It's something that's very formal. It's an offering of sorts, a gift. He's saying, I present my life. I offer it up. And he clarifies 3 times here. I lay down my life. I lay it down. I lay it down. I present it. I offer it. I give it. And he says to try and help them understand what in the world he's talking about. He says, I lay down my life. Now, this shepherd is not risking his paycheck. He's not risking his reputation. He says very clear here, I am the good shepherd, and I am laying down my life, my very life. And it's the very reason the Father loves me, because I give it all of it. You've never seen, you've never heard, you've never followed a leader like me. I give it all for my people. Second, he says, no one takes it from me. I lay it down of my own accord. I give it myself. No wolf, no man, no ruler or committee can ever take this from me. I give it to my people, myself. It's voluntary. I do it joyfully. It's my gift. Third, he says, I have authority to give it, and I have authority to take it back again. My sacrifice for my people, do not misunderstand. It is not out of weakness. It is out of power. I have authority to give my life for my people, and I have authority to take it back again. In a world that is full of leaders who refuse to take risks, or even worse, leaders who intentionally abuse their people for their own advantage, whether it's financial leaders, bankers, or realtors who create a devastating mortgage crisis, or whether it's our entertainment stars who use their money and their fame to exploit people to do things they want them to do. In the face of that kind of leadership, Jesus says it's going to take more than justice to change our world. It's going to take a new kind of leadership. More than justice. You see, because justice is conservative. I like justice. But justice doesn't change people from the inside out. Justice provides a system where we keep the rules and we provide stability for everybody to work together. That's what justice is. It's conservative. It's protecting. But Jesus says we need more than justice. And in this passage, Jesus offers us something that is wildly liberal. And it makes me really uncomfortable. He says intentional abuses must be met with intentional sacrifices. The intentional abuses of this world must be met with intentional sacrifices. It's the only way. I want to give you some homework this week. And it's going to be good and it's going to be hard. I want to introduce you to the homework first. And then in our grand finale, I want to show you the power that's going to help you do the homework. To remember. Your homework is to verbally communicate your sacrifices to your family and to your enemies. Now, there are two kinds of sacrifices. We have glad sacrifices, and we need to be very intentional about these sacrifices because they're really joyful. For example, my daughter, this was her first year in cheerleading, and all of her competitions were in the valley. So for several weeks, we would drive 5 hours to go and watch her 5-minute cheer performances in the valley. And I just want you to know, Edie, that we would do that any day, because you are amazing. And it was awesome to see your joy and your flexibility and your grace to watch you cheer. Another example, our son Judah, I don't know if he's still in here or if he's in his class. Judah is adopted, and it cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. We wrestled with lawyers, abortion clinics, and drug issues to make him a part of our family. And it was so worth it. It was so worth it. We'd do it all again. Your homework is to communicate those sacrifices to each other. Not in a way that says, hey, I sacrificed for you. But in a way that says, you are totally worth it. I enjoy sacrificing for you. Now, those are the glad sacrifices. Then we have what I call the mad sacrifices, and these are really, really hard. If you thought that homework was hard. When we left Mongolia, after 10 years, some of my teammates asked that I not communicate with the nationals anymore, with some of the church leaders, because Mongolians tend to be very loyal, and because we weren't really going to be knowing what was going on anymore with the church and with the projects. They asked that to make a clean transition, that I not try to communicate or influence the leadership of the churches and projects from a distance. And I agreed to that hardship for their benefit, to help them become leaders of what God was doing there. And to this day, I resent them for it. I resent them for it. And it's really, really hard. Because hardship does not equal sacrifice. And I've realized again this week that I tried to be the bigger person. I tried to do something that would help them, and I resent them for it. And that is not the sacrifice of Christ. So your homework is to find those hardships and turn them into sacrifices. To speak with those people that you serve and that you have gone through hardships for, and to look them in the eye and say, I sacrificed this for you, and it was really hard. But I want you to know that it's my gift, and I do it joyfully now. I do it joyfully because that's the leader who I follow. It's hard. And we need to practice and practice and practice that. Because if there are two things that we need to become good at as followers of Jesus, they are repentance and sacrifice. What else does it mean to be a Christian if we can't repent and sacrifice for each other? Now I want to leave you with a strength to do that homework. And that strength comes from Jesus himself. And these are what I call the sad sacrifices. Because leaving Mongolia also was a sacrifice for me, in that it took a part of me away. It took a part of me away. There's a huge hole in my heart and in my soul that I left in Mongolia. Something was chopped out of me. And those are the sad sacrifices. And to get through those, we need to stay very, very focused on the sacrifices of Jesus. Because Jesus says to us, it's okay, I'll go first. I'll go first. In all of his I am statements, Jesus says, I am the bread that's consumed by you. I am the light that's extinguished for you. I am the way that's covered. I'm the vine that's cut down and thrown in the fire. I'm the door that's shut. I'm the shepherd who lays down his life. Forget your mythologies, where the world exists to worship and feed the gods. That is not who I am. I exist for you. I delight in giving myself to you again and again and again. That's who I am. And you are totally worth it. You're worth it. In a world where love increasingly means that you accept anything that I want to be and do, Jesus says true love means that I give you everything that I am. I give you who I am. It leaves huge holes in me, but I do it again and again because it brings me joy. I give up my divinity to reach you. I give up having a home to come and find you. I give up my dignity to stay with you in your messes. I give up my royalty to serve you. I give up my Sabbath rest to heal you. I give up my vision so that you can be the one who shares it with the world. I give up my authority to receive abuse on your behalf. I give up my friendship and let you abandon me. I give up the only thing that I brought into this world with me, my connection with my Father. Because I've given so much of myself to you, my Father won't recognize me anymore. And as I die for you, I'm despised and completely alone. There is nothing more that I have to give you, nothing more I can do, nothing more that I am that I have not given you. You have all of me. You will not find this kind of love anywhere else in the entire history of humankind, anywhere else on this planet. You will not find this kind of love or this kind of leadership. The French philosopher Charles Dubois said the important thing is this: to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd, and I am able at any moment to sacrifice what I am for what you will become. As you go, may you be filled, absolutely filled, with his courage and joy in the face of your sacrifices this week. Go with him.